Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching from. Thanks for joining me today. Usually, if you don't have premium YouTube, the ads are going to run for a few minutes or a minute or two. And actually, if you let them play, that's how I get paid. So don't be in a rush to skip that ad. But yeah, in the meantime, I usually just start out with some little chit chat. Totally forgot to do the chapters breakdown in the description last week. So I will do that today, right after the show is finished, and I'll also go back and do last week's. So yeah, beautiful sunny day here today. Summer has finally arrived here in Vancouver. Yes, and that is one thing that I actually wanted to talk about. For those of you who are planning on coming out here for a cruise to Alaska, if you have these booked for 2026, and this is off topic, but just something that I've seen come up in a couple of the Holland America cruise ship forums and also in the princess cruises groups, and also just in general, if you're coming up here to plan a visit because our dollar is so much lower, welcome, welcome. But do bear in mind, next year is the FIFA World Cup, not the fake World Cup that just took place. Where it ended up being Chelsea versus PSG in the final. That was a Club World Cup, and it was from what I gather, it was like teams were chosen like, we'll take you and we'll take you and we'll take you because Messi's on your team. And no, not you. You've got nobody that people want to see. So, in my personal opinion, the teams that went into the tournament were a little bit chosen as opposed to it being an authentic whoever wins goes forward kind of competition. But no, the real official FIFA World Cup is coming to North America next year. This is going to affect Mexico, US, and Canada, because whilst everybody is playing nice, these are the venues. This is the chosen countries to host the competition, and there will be thousands of people coming to see these games. I'm not sure about the scheduling and stuff like that. I know for residents, it's going to be really difficult to secure tickets. I'd love to see a game, but I think you choose the game and then you find out who wins that particular draw, because I don't think they've done the schedule yet. So it's just like when the Olympics were here. I know a lot of friends paid thousands of dollars to go to different events, and they didn't find out until after they had bid, to find out that after they bid, that's when they found out which event they would be going to see and where it was and when it was. So it's kind of a goofy process. I don't know. Let me know if you are actually interested in the World Cup, if that's something that you would go to. I personally don't like crowds. It is a once in a lifetime opportunity, though. Well, I suppose it's not once in a lifetime because they happen every 4 years. And although it's not necessarily going to be in my backyard, it's certainly accessible. I would just have to fly to the next one. Good morning, Tammy. How are you today? Um, how is the weather over on Vancouver Island? I'm curious. It's warm here, but it's not hot. Not hot, hot, hot like yesterday. Yesterday it got up to, in Celsius, about 33 here, which is, I would say, converts to the 90s for those of you who do Fahrenheit. I'm not sure. Angelo, if you're on, I know you're our, or I could do Siri. Hey, Siri. Hey, Siri. How much is 33 Celsius in Fahrenheit?
It's 91.4 degrees Fahrenheit.
There you go, 91.4. Problem solved. That was pretty fast, actually, other than not listening to me the first time. So we have got a lot of topics today, a lot of some that are interesting, some that are so we'll see what you think of these. But kicking it off, So anyways, like I said, where I was going with that is, so if you're planning on coming to Vancouver, if you're planning on taking a cruise to Alaska and you're departing from either Vancouver, Seattle, or any of the other host cities, because the FIFA World Cup soccer games, football games, are going to be played all over North America and in Mexico as well. Take a look at your dates, take a look at all of the aspects of that. Book your hotels now, because we're already seeing an increase in hotel prices. Vancouver, I mean, if you want to stay at a Sandman, which would be considered sort of 3-star, you're looking at about $300 per night. If you want to get into anything fancy like the Fairmont Hotel Vancouver, the hotel, the hotels at Canada Place where the cruise ships take off from, or the Sutton Hotel, any of the fancy ones, you're probably looking upwards of $500. So, oh, yeah, I know. I put a male Australian accent. That way I feel like I'm traveling whenever I speak to she who shall remain nameless. Yeah, I just gotta have some fun, right? So yeah, if you're planning on going to any of those places, book your hotel now, because A, availability is going to just disappear, and B, the rates are just going to go through the sky. Oh, don't you love that? I actually watched a video on some of the cool things that she can do, even though she has a male voice, yesterday, and it was saying, I'm totally on a tangent today, guys. I'm like excited talking about travel. And so I'm just kind of like on random mode right now, but that's okay, because we're talking about travel and that's all we really care about, right? Um, so there, we'll own up to it. Random topics. We've talked before about hotels that have the eco-friendly lighting. So not so much in the main public areas, because those always need to be lit, especially for safety reasons. But in the washrooms, for example, if nobody is using a washroom in the area for an hour, like the lobby bar washroom possibly wouldn't get used very often if everyone's out by the pool having fun, playing volleyball and volleyball as opposed to volleyball, that kind of thing. But in the event that you were just checking in and you had to use the washroom, often you've got to kind of do this sort of thing when you get in there to make the lights go on. And depending on how they are set up, good morning to you, Bojangles. Hope you are well. Depending on how those eco lights are set up, like their timer, you might need to keep gesticulating in order to keep those lights on. Or if you've got your phone with you, of course, you can do the trick to say, hey Siri, turn on torch.
It's on now.
You can also say flashlight, or what's it? Turn that off. Oh, actually, we want to do that. Okay. Oops. And then if I clear this, and I think it was, hey Siri, Fanta.
Fanta is an American-owned brand of fruit-flavored carbonate.
not the one I was looking for. It's a Harry Potter code that you can use, and it will turn on your flashlight. So you can say turn on torch. That's just easy. But most North Americans wouldn't think of a flashlight as a torch. Turn on flashlight, or you could say whatever the other phrase is, like phantasma or something like that. And then there's a one-word thing you say, hey, blah, blah, blah. And you say, oh, I just watched it yesterday. It's a one-word thing from Harry Potter, and it basically finishes the spell and turns off your flashlight. So In a pinch, if you're stuck in the washroom on a cruise ship or wherever, and that eco-friendly light is not working with you, or the power goes out and you can't see anything, as long as you've got your phone with you, you can easily shed some light on the situation. So, pro travel tip. Tammy knows that one all too well, and I know that has happened to me a few times. Sandos Finisterra. Pro tip, the Santos Finisterra Hotel in Los Cabos, I really like that hotel. I would highly recommend it. However, I know from experience that the lobby bar, you go down the stairs to the main washroom, and the light switch has historically been like on a super low, super short timing. So you're in there. Yes. Uh, but when I was there earlier this year, it appears that they have adjusted it. So it's a pretty decent amount of time that it's on now, which is a lot better. I mean, yeah, just when you're fiddling around in the dark and the doors, some people may have experienced this. The doors don't usually open the same way there. Here in North America, our standards are to have the doors, especially on the bathroom stalls, to open inwards, right? So you pull the door towards you and then crawl over the toilet to exit the stall. Whereas a lot of times in Mexico or other countries, the door would open outwards. Here, it's a safety standard to have it open inwards so you don't whack it into somebody's face as they're walking by. And that said, it makes it a lot easier to just walk out of the stall. But yeah. Hey, Jane, how are you? From where is that at? Carlton Place? Where is Carlton Place? I do not know. I'm lost on that one. So let us know. Let us know. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. Because just randomly covered topics, but that's always fun. All right, number one. First thing. So Eshkaret has put forward another request to open an additional cruise port. So this is in the Mayan Riviera. Xcaret is sort of, if you put it near Playa del Carmen, the port in Cozumel has been denied expansion, and a lot of this is environmental reasons and stuff like that. But now Xcaret is reapplying to have an expansion of the cruise ship port to have it on the mainland. Oh, okay. Follow up from Jane says it's outside of Ottawa on the Mississippi. Oh, nice. Nice little summer getaway. Yeah, did I show that? There we go. Oh, good. Hey, by the way, if you haven't already done so, please go ahead and hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Just go ahead and do it. Then you get notified when I'm randomly talking about travel stuff, and you can join in too. So yeah, what they've asked or requested, and like I said, this has been ongoing. They have requested this because what they want to do is have it be the cruise ship terminal be part of the park. So basically, when people would arrive in that area, in that region, instead of them either docking in Cozumel, going to the dock, taking the ferry across to the mainland, and then getting a bus to the Xcaret theme park, or Explore, or Shellha, or the Extreme, the zip lining. Instead of all of that, they would be right there. They would exit the ship at the theme park, which, I mean, you can imagine Disney must be looking at that and going, like, this is a logical idea and a major win. the people would be right there. It would eliminate a lot of the traffic on those main roads in and around the theme park, but it would mean a lot more cruise traffic within that area. So that would start to, again, put a little bit of pressure and stress on that infrastructure. I don't know what you think, like, should there be another cruise ship port in the Cancun area, or is there already just too much tourism? And, do they really need to expand the highway so it's not two, sometimes three, depending on your driver, lanes? Should they have more better road systems, better transportation through that area, before they start to expand it and open up to more tourism? I don't know. Let me know what you think. Will this actually get approved? It's hard to say. Like I said, mostly for environmental reasons, it's been declined or denied by government in the past. So it's hard to say. But that said, we move on to our next topic, which is the expansion of Puerto Morelos. So this actually just got approved. Well, it got approved a little while ago, but this is the first I've seen of it. That they have a newly approved industrial complex in and around Puerto Morelos. It's going to be, I think they said 120 hectares, which I believe that would be 12 acres. So it's not massive, but 12 acres is still a lot of space. And the idea is to create a new port terminal. Currently, for the Cancun region, Mine Riviera, they get a lot of their fuel from the U.S. And it's via land or sea, so over land or through the sea routes. But they want to obviously create more opportunities for more trade within the Caribbean, and give them a little bit more energy autonomy. So what has been approved is for them to create a new deep water port for trade. Obviously, the environmental groups are opposed to this, and interestingly enough, the hoteliers are also opposed to this because, of course, there is some talk, and of course, where there's a revenue opportunity, uh, you could see this potentially further developing into another cruise ship port. So it's difficult to say. Puerto Morelos is, of course, located about 20, maybe 30 minutes south of Cancun before Cancun and the airport, Puerto Morelos, and then Playa del Carmen. So, it would be a potentially good hub. It would be good for additional water sports in the Cancun area, that kind of thing, tours and stuff. But again, is the infrastructure really set up for that? I think from a perspective of bringing in supplies and goods to the region, as well as fuel, then I think that makes sense. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, they're scheduled to start operations in 2027, which seems optimistic, a bit quick. But I mean, it's Mexico, and they will get the workers in, and they will get it hammered out in no time at all. Similar to them fixing. We talked about this last week. The road where there was the sinkhole, and there was only the one. There is only the one road that goes from Cancun to Playa del Carmen, and they had that fixed within like 24, 36 hours. So it's incredible what they can do uh, as hard workers for sure. Okay, moving on to next topic is the gambling taxes. So the bill that was recently signed for the July 4th weekend, there's a lot of information in there and a lot of proposed changes. And I don't know all of it, the ins and outs, but one of the things that has got a lot of the cruise groups screaming is the proposed changes to the way the gambling taxes are calculated. So currently, if you go to Vegas and you play, you win, you play, you win, you play, you win, you play, you win, you lose, you win, you lose. Overall, if you, let's say you walk away with $5,000, you hit the jackpot on your last day, like it never works this way, right? But let's just say you're doing the Ocean's 11 or Ocean's 13, I guess it was. You're at the airport. Nobody's tried to poison you or whatever. It's just your luck of the day that you put that last quarter in the, it's probably $1 or $2 now. But anyways, you put some money into the slot machine, bing, 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 you win a jackpot. You win $5,000. Normally you would be taxed on that amount. However, you could go to the different casinos and request a gaming sheet, which would indicate how much you've gambled over that weekend or over the course of that tax year. And used to be that you could write off 100% of your losses against 100% of your winnings. So if in the past you had won a little bit, but your overall, net kind of net zero, how sad is that? But nonetheless, you're back to square one. So I guess that's a good thing. You would be able to write that off. Now it's changed that you can only write off 90% of your losses against your winnings. So if you overall had gambled $10,000, for example, and you won 10,000 in the end, you would pay tax on $1,000 of it because only 90% of your losses would be held against your winnings. So for people like me, probably not going to make much of a difference. Although I will say that I know lots of people who won decent money or even big money in Vegas. And as Canadians, if we gamble in Vegas and we win, we have to declare that tax. Now, because of the tax treaties that we have, we would pay that within Canada. But again, you'd have to get all those documents to offset, your winnings. So this is also going to affect cruisers. So if you're gambling, because the cruise line, not really sure how it works because you would be gambling in international waters. I'm not really sure. I'm no expert. Talk to your accountant if you're a big gambler and you're concerned about this. Maybe the casinos, because they're in international waters, it wouldn't apply. I would think it would depend on the cruise line, but maybe it would go back to where it's registered. So again, most of the cruise ships are registered in the Bahamas, so that they're not paying the operational taxes. Look, it's just something to be aware of, and it's something to, if you or someone you know is a big gambler, it's worth them being aware of this and understanding the tax implications. And yeah, so it could affect people. Like I said, for me, I mean, unless I start winning a lot, like I win when I go to the casino, which is why I keep going. I also enjoy it. Just it's fun. I mean, yes, Tammy has witnessed me on how many cruises where I go ding 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 and I see. Well, first of all, I like those machines, the casinos where they have the coins that move back and forth, and you drop it from the top like Plinko, and then it pushes the coins out. And I mean, your ratio of winning on that is worse, I think, odds than with Keno. Although again, Keno is often where I win. There's no there are statistics on this, but at the end of the day, if it's going to be your turn to win, it's your turn to win. And if it's not your day, it's just not your day, no matter how much you spend. But I enjoy those machines. I also enjoy the claw that comes down, and you have to have it lined up at the exact right spot and in the exact right timing for it to drop and pick up that big 1-inch wad of either ones or 20s or whatever it is, to get that big wad of cash. Usually it's $100 stack of bills. I would take that. Thank you very much. But I have yet to pick one up, and whatever. But it's still fun. But for me, I view it as it's entertainment. I don't expect to win. But there are other people that they win on such a consistent basis. Like my parents. My parents, when they go to the casino, they pretty consistently win. Although, you know what, when people say that they win, and I'm not just saying them, but I think for anybody, you remember the wins, you don't necessarily remember the losses. So I don't know. But like I said, at the end of the day, if you know somebody who's a big gambler, then it's worth it to let them know so that they can understand the tax implications before it comes back to bite them. Although, look, if you win, better maybe to pay tax on money that you're winning because you're winning, as opposed to not winning. You know, it's kind of like if you work overtime, you get more money, you pay a little bit higher tax bracket on it because that might push that amount of money for you into the next tax bracket. But at the same time, you're still getting more money. So I don't know. Depends how you look at it. Enough of that. Moving on. Seaweed shoes. This is a fun one, actually. So with all the millions and millions of pounds that have dropped over the years in the Mayan Riviera, and no end in sight. I mean, this isn't perhaps more seasonal based on the storms and stuff like that, but I've never been there when there's not been seaweed or sargassum, if we want to be technical about it. And this year is particularly bad, but they have been, you know, it's obviously been a bane for them, for tourism over the last several years. And they've been trying to figure out a solution how to get rid of it. And at the end of the day, usually the idea of what to do to get rid of the stuff is directly tied to a profit opportunity. And so they have pretty much hit the jackpot on this. I mean, this is something that the collection is going to have a labor cost, which we all know in Mexico is low. I think the official minimum daily wage has gone up to just over $12 or just over $13. So labor costs are cheap in Mexico. If they've got to collect it, there would be the cost of machinery to, you know, scoop it, carry it to some facility to process it. But aside from that, it's free raw material. So what's happened is they've created something called a circular economic park. And this is located in Quintana Roo. The idea is to repurpose the seaweed into sustainable products. And what's also sort of not said is they're creating a revenue opportunity. So, I mean, that makes sense. So what they're doing is they're transforming this stuff into things like, you know, we've heard about them creating bricks before. That's nothing new. But the things that surprised me were they're making pencils out of these. Maybe they could make straws. I don't know. Can't say that I would fancy having a drink, getting my pina colada with a sargassum created straw, or a straw made out of sargassum. I think I would say no to that. You know, it's great environmentally, but I just no. To that end, sargassum cups. I don't know. But some of the fun things that they are creating, pencils, like I said, shoe soles, which I have to think about it. That's pretty intelligent or pretty smart. Charcoal, and even eco-friendly dyes. There has been some talk in the past about using them for feed for cows, but I think that there's problems with that. Although there was a study that showed that the cows that were eating this stuff, the sargassum, they were producing less methane. But the problem is, I've got something in my face tickling me. The problem with that is that a lot of the sargassum absorbs any like heavy metal contamination that's in the ocean. So they are doing studies through the repurposing process to make sure that the end products don't have any heavy metal toxicity and that they're basically safe to use. But again, I mean, would you if they all of a sudden had cups and or what if they did this? What if they said, "Hey, everybody, we want you to use a recyclable cup for your water, for your drinking water. So in order to encourage guests to do so, we're going to give you a free branded mug, travel mug for you to use during your trip, and you can take it home as a free souvenir, but it's made out of Sargassum." Would you? I don't know. I just mentally kind of and although, when you think about all the chemicals that are inside of things, maybe Sargassum's not a bad thing, at least it's a natural product. What they do in the processing to make it into something else, though, that would be a good question, and that probably also would, include a lot of chemicals. But I don't know. Let me know what you think on that. Everyone's very quiet today. Everybody must be watching at work and, like, got the volume turned down low or watching with their headphones. Okay, moving on to the next topic. So does non-refundable mean non-refundable? Does no mean no? When it comes to hotel bookings, there was a couple that the news stories have come out about it recently. I think because they just finally resolved the situation. But what happened was there was a couple that decided to book, a Canadian couple, decided to book their hotel for their 1-year anniversary, wedding anniversary. And they went online and, they know best. So they're booking it themselves. And they looked it up. They liked the hotel, looked good. They wanted the all-inclusive package. They wanted an air-inclusive package. The price looked right. So they hit book. Paid their money. It was almost $4,200 Canadian. And then they realized that the price that they paid didn't include airfare. So they quickly hit cancel. And so the system said, "Are you sure?" And they said, "Yeah." And the system said, "Okay." And it canceled. And it said, sort of, "Thanks for booking with us. Hopefully you reconsider booking with us in future. However, your booking is non-refundable, so no credits will be issued." At which point they went, "Oh, wait a minute." And as the story goes, they supposedly, in their words, the system knew that they had just booked it 10 minutes earlier, so the system should have let them cancel. It's just a computer. And the other thing that obviously they didn't understand, and there's other people that don't understand this, but by and large, you have to think like Expedia doesn't own these hotels. So when they booked the Bahia Principe in Jamaica, Expedia is just the middle person, right? They're the vendor that they're booking the hotel through. They could have booked it direct through the hotel, but it might have also been non-refundable. Anyways, long story short, they paid their over $4,000 for the hotel. They weren't going to get a refund. It would appear that they went, "Wow, we're not going to get a refund. Well, if we can't get a refund, then we can't afford to go on this vacation. Oh, woe is us. I guess we should go and complain to the media," which of course they did. Instead of, contacting anybody at Expedia and trying to remedy the situation. Because perhaps they could have reinstated the booking and they would have just had to book their flights. There's definitely a lot of potential options there. They reached out to the local TV station, CTV it was in this case. CTV reached out to Ontario's travel regulator, TECO, which helps travelers in the event that they've been defrauded of something or a company's gone bankrupt, not user errors, right? Like you hit the button that said, "You want to pay this price? This price is non-refundable." I mean, the regulators have made it very, 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 very clear that when you're booking something that's non-refundable, it's non-refundable. And that's the button that they clicked, as opposed to the higher price for more flexible booking, or as opposed to an even higher price for cancel for any reason, cancel whenever you like. They chose the non-refundable portion or reservation, which would have been the cheapest. And then they got CTV to reach out. The travel regulator couldn't do anything for them because nothing had been done wrong other than, like I said, the person clicked on the wrong confirmation button. And then they reached out, the CTV on the news agency reached out to Expedia, which is who the couple had booked through. Now, again, Expedia doesn't cite the rules for refunds. They may, but in this particular instance, it's the contract that they set up with the hotel. So Expedia reaches out to Sandals or Hyatt or Marriott, or in this case, the 𝖪𝖨 Príncipe, and says, we'll sell your hotel. What terms and conditions do you want? And they'll say, okay, well, for $4,200, the rate's going to be non-refundable, or you can get the client to pay, throwing these numbers out, not real, $4,500, and it's a flexible rate. So they've got 30 days to decide if they want to keep the rate or not. And then the most expensive rate, let's say it's $5,000, is fully refundable. They've got the 24-hour cancellation. So you can cancel up to 24 hours prior to arrival, kind of thing, which is pretty standard with a lot of hotels when you're booking directly with them. So Expedia had to go to the 𝖪𝖨 Príncipe and say, hey, this is what's happened with this client. Would you consider doing a refund, even though they booked the contracted, you book it, you own it kind of rate? And they were able to negotiate that the 𝖪𝖨 Príncipe was able to refund them. And in fact, it doesn't sound like they charged them a fee to issue the cancellation, which I personally would have done, or I personally would have expected. But I don't know, what do you think? Like, I've made mistakes before, but if you book the wrong hotel, should you get a refund, or do you suck it up and you just, that's a learning for life that you're probably not going to make again? Who should pay in this scenario? We all know if they'd booked through a travel agent and the travel agent had booked and it was a non-refundable rate and they hadn't disclosed it and they hadn't said that this price doesn't include airfare, they'd be going after the travel agent, and rightfully so, because when selling travel, those are things that have to be disclosed. But this was them. This was on 100% on them. They booked it. Like, first of all, I would say, why didn't they try to negotiate any correction on this themselves? Why didn't they go to Expedia? Why didn't they reach out to the hotel, the end product, and say, hey, this is what's happened. Can you help us out? Because they still wanted to go. That's the thing. It wasn't like, oh, I got declined my time off work. My dog is sick, so now we can't go. It was pure and simple that they booked the wrong price. They booked the wrong thing. They canceled it when arguably they didn't mean to. They just wanted to include airfare. So they could have kept that reservation. They could have just said, no, hold on a second. We canceled this. We want you to make it an active reservation again. And then we'll go and we'll book our flight separately. Like, that's always an option. I don't know. What do you think? It's like a ghost town out there. Nobody's around. They're probably all having fun in the sun. I don't know. Everybody's quiet. Maybe everybody agrees with me. I doubt it. No, I'm curious what you think on this. To me, I just think that was up to them. But that's me. Maybe I'm just grumpy. It was like very hot yesterday. I didn't sleep well. So maybe I'm just dreaming of better days I don't have air conditioning. So maybe I'm dreaming of better days in a hotel with air conditioning or on a cruise ship with air conditioning. I don't know. On that note, so I just wanted to mention as well, I have booked a cruise, going to Alaska, heading up there in September. I'm a little bit confused about, well, I guess I can get rid of this because we're done with that stuff now. Just random travel talk again, like we did started off at the beginning of the show. So I've booked a cruise. I'm just going to go ahead and say, Tammy and I are going on a cruise. Tammy, I'm not sure if you want people to know that or not, but they do now. Hope that's okay. And where's my thing here? Can't even read this stuff. I can't get my glasses. I think it's the couple's fault. Hard lesson to learn. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Christine. Hey, by the way, hi. Yeah, hard lesson to learn, but it is what it is. When you book it non-refundable, you really got to consider, are you really going to be able to make that trip? And if you're not able to make that trip, are you prepared to walk away? Because everybody does cry foul, and you might get reimbursed, but you shouldn't expect to get reimbursed. And playing the whole like, oh, give me a GoFundMe because I didn't mean to. Well, you kind of did because you picked that rate. I don't know. Anyway, so that aside, so Tammy and I are going on an Alaska cruise, and I've been watching some different videos. I just watched one last night. It's really interesting, and it is about some little secret tips on the cruise ship. And I'm going to repurpose this information into another video about the cruise because it's like the end of the cruise season. So I'm not sure how much people would be terribly interested in hearing about cruising on Holland America to Alaska when there's like 2 cruises left in the season. It could be useful for the next cruise season, I suppose. And again, especially like I said, factoring into that whole the FIFA World Cup situation, how that's going to impact people going on or off the ship. But yeah, it's interesting. I'd like to really zero in on stuff once I've booked a place to find out as much as I can about it if I've never been to that hotel before or that resort. And also like cruise ships, little nooks and crannies. There's always nooks and crannies. Oh, good. She's okay with me sharing. Yeah, there's all kinds of nooks and crannies. And on this one particular video, I found this cruise ship deck at the front of the ship, which apparently nobody goes on. And so, yeah, it's kind of a cool little thing you can find out. Sort of like finding out the items that are like off menu, like at the Rio Palace, Baja California in Cabo. If you go to the Asian restaurant there, which is small plates, sort of like they're not appetizers per se, but it's just smaller portions, and the idea is to encourage you to try a bunch of different things, which I loved it. It was my hands down favorite restaurant. We ate there, I think 3-4 times. Would have eaten there more, but there was lineups. But they had sake. It's not on the menu. And it's like just an off menu thing that you could get. And I guess they used it for cooking, but you could order it to enjoy. And it's little things like that. I think, Christine, I think there was a few things at the Hyatt Vivid that if you knew that they had them, or you knew that they had the capability of putting it together, they could do that. So again, it's just sort of different food things that they're not necessarily advertising, but yeah, it's just stuff that might be available. Oh, and Christine saying she's been watching a lot of cruise videos too, thinking that she wants to cruise for her 60th birthday next July. Yeah, Nice. Now, are you thinking a warm destination? Are you thinking Europe, which could be warm or cold? Or are you thinking Alaska? One of the women who is the manager, the founder of a travel agent group of like 20,000 agents. She specializes she lives in the Mayan Riviera. She's actually on a cruise right now to Alaska, and she's actually disembarked it today. So she's had lovely weather. So yeah. Um, Tammy says, my thoughts exactly. Plan a big trip for 60th. Yeah. Um, yeah, and I guess it just depends where you want. And if you are gonna plan Alaska, if you're planning Alaska, let me know. I'd love to actually meet you in person, Christine. We've come so close. She was staying at the Iberostar Select across the street from the Hyatt Vivid when I was there. I think that was last fall, and we just never had a chance to connect. So it's interesting. But yeah, cruising's lovely. I mean, if it's hot, then yeah, oh yeah, that's right. Sorry. Um, did Europe last month, looking at something out of Florida since your cousin lives in Orlando. Right, right, right. Yeah, because which were you on? Were you on Virgin last month? I know so many of you. Dee Dee the dog, who is not so much ever on the show, but more comments pretty consistently. Almost every time I throw a community post up, he comments on a regular basis. He's been on a couple of Virgin cruises. Um, John Swift, I think. No, John is more P&O and Costa. But there's a few of you who have done Virgin. And I'm telling you, I have got my eye on them. I really want to try cruising with them because, oh, it was Celebrity. That's right. That's right. Yeah, so much of all this travel to keep track of. Um, yeah, Celebrity and Virgin. Virgin's a little bit funky with their drink package, but A, it's adults only. B, all of their food is included. Like I did my notes on them the other day. I got a whole page of notes doing their training. They don't mess around with this stupid specialty dining where it's like, oh well, if you want to eat at this restaurant, then there's a surcharge. Or if you want to eat at this little, like charging extra for a specialty lunch place on a cruise ship. I mean, come on. To me, that's the epitome of, or the ultimate of, like, nickel and diming. On Virgin, like, their fitness classes are free. This all the specialty dining, it's all included. It's an interesting concept. So, yeah, I'm definitely intrigued by them. But, yeah, and for hot destinations, that's the nice thing is you're kind of in this massive thing that's floating around, taking you to different places without having to pack and unpack, as well as having, uh, air conditioning, so air conditioning is king, that is for sure. All right, well, that's it for this week. I am going to wrap it up and let you guys get back to your workday. So, thanks for tuning in today. If you haven't already done so, please go ahead and hit that like button. And thanks for taking time out of your day to join in and all your comments and contributions. Really appreciate it. Always enjoy chatting about travel stuff, even if we are here in the middle of summer and the weather's quite nice. If you are in the southern United States or on the East Coast, stay safe because it is a record year for floods and flash floods. So stay safe on that. Oh, gotten over my dislike for the lack of drink packages because everything's included. You basically just put money on a bar tab, which is fine. Yeah, exactly. And then you're not wasting money on the days where you're in port and you might be going out for beers at a beach bar or something like that. Yeah, totally makes sense. I can get on board with that. It took me a while to wrap my head around it, but when you think about it logically, it probably makes a lot more sense. So thanks again. Thanks for everybody tuning in. We will be back next Wednesday and looking at more travel talk stuff. So thanks for tuning in. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I hope you have a great weekend. And we will see you next week, 10 a.m. Wednesday. Hope you have a great week. Stay safe and